Hey, Mo.
Hey, Jen.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to What Are You Listening To, the weekly podcast created to foster community through music by sharing the stories and memories that soundtrack our lives. Some of the songs are old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined by Mo Shafeek, the perfect person to discuss music that soundtracks our lives. Mo is Senior Creative Director for pop culture scion Mondo Music and Death Waltz Recording Company. He's responsible for bringing some of the most iconic soundtracks from film, television, and video games to vinyl in a totally fan-driven way. We'll learn more about Mo and how he helped turn a t-shirt company into the most in-demand record label for vinyl collectors in between the music. Also, did you know that now on Spotify, you can listen to the show with the songs we discuss incorporated? Just search for What Are You Listening To with Music. If you're not listening on Spotify, be sure to give the playlist a listen and then tune into our conversation. With that, let's get started. Mo, what are you listening to this week?
Before I tell you what I'm listening to this week, I just wanted to let you know that when you sent me over this fun little run of show, I saw your intro and I blushed. Frankly, I blushed. You were far too kind. You are a very generous host and very, very sweet. But yeah, so this week, I actually struggled with this a little bit because I listen to a lot of music, as you might imagine, working in
Yes.
recorded music to some degree. But I narrowed it down to two songs that were kind of on a new rotation for me. And the first one is My Father's Gun by Sir Elton John.
Oh, fantastic pick. I love this song and I love it for a variety of reasons, but you have to tell me how this song came into being because I'm curious as this playlist shakes out if we had the same idea or a different idea. So tell me about this song, what it means to you and how you found it.
So I have an interesting relationship to it, but the reason why it's been on my mind is actually sort of a sad reason, but there was a recent loss in my life. A dear friend of mine, much younger than me, who we unfortunately lost. My friend Megan from Long Island, from New York, rather. There's lots of talks of wakes and celebrations of life, and it got me thinking about a particular scene from a movie called Elizabethtown. Now, I'll jump back slightly from that and give a little bit of additional context to my relationship to this movie, Elizabethtown, which some people may not know, or they may know it as a bit of a calamity, to borrow the parlance from the film itself, but or a fiasco, rather. But I work in the soundtrack space, as you mentioned earlier on. I've actually been working directly with filmmaker Cameron Crowe and his team on a series of reissues for his films, starting with Say Anything. We just finished up Singles a few months ago, and now we're working on Jerry Maguire. Next, Vanilla Sky, Elizabethtown, all that fun stuff. Like we're gonna do them all. But separate from that, my wife's favorite movie of all time is Elizabethtown. It's a little interesting thing because like I when I started working on these soundtracks with Cameron Crowe, when they asked us if we wanted to do it, I was sort of like, well, yeah, who wouldn't want to work on Almost Famous, Jerry Maguire, all these things. And then I based on my own personal history with those films, I was sort of like, but then after that, who knows? Like, I don't know what the demand is for that. And I remember I had seen the film once many years ago, and it didn't really connect with it personally, and I didn't think it was necessarily like terrible, but I just didn't really have any relationship to it. But upon the dating process and obviously getting married to the woman I love, I discovered quite quickly that film was it is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. So it's interesting that your later song selection also shares a passage of time in the film as well, I should say. Spoiler alert. But so the reason it came to mind is because the song "My Father's Gun" plays during the funeral scene of the film Elizabethtown. If you haven't seen it, The main character, played by Orlando Bloom, is sort of an outcast from his extended family. He lives in the big city. He works in the sneaker industry, and when his father, who is a Kentucky native, passes away in Kentucky, he sort of has to bridge the gap between his West Coast family, which is his mom, his sister, and his dad, and his Kentucky family. And he goes to visit, and it's the very fish out of water thing, very West Coast meets Midwest sort of energy. But the film itself begins a montage of sort of the like numb chaos of being surrounded by all types of energies at these sorts of celebrations and funeral processions and wakes. And it's when revisiting the film with my wife many times since finding out that she loves it as much as she does, that was the key for me to unlock the film. And I don't really have that big of a relationship with Elton John. I don't know if you do. Obviously everyone loves the Almost Famous Tiny Dancer scene. Everyone loves Elton John as a musician for his legendary run of songwriting. And of course I love the songs that I know of Elton John, but like, I don't know this album very well that the album comes from. It's a concept album. It's an album, as far as I can tell, about it's a Civil War epic album. And
originally released in 1970. It's on the Tumbleweed Connection album, for those of you that don't know it. That we've been talking a lot about Elizabethtown, which we will continue to talk about. But yeah, that original album was from 1970, and not a ton of hits. I think Burn Down the Mission and Madman Across the Water are also on that album. And really, that there's not a lot of like big Elton John hits. When you think of Elton John hits, I don't know that any of these three come to mind, but yeah, being reintroduced to this song, I loved it as well. And, thank goodness we didn't talk before about your Cameron Crowe connection, because the intro would have been even more gushing, because I'm so jealous that you get to do this. I was actually at DreamWorks when they were working on Almost Famous, and it was like a dream come true for me, because Cameron Crowe sort of swiftly stepped in and replaced John Hughes for me in terms of like films and filmmakers that I could tell love music as much as I do, and I think as much as you do, and how they use music to sort of convey those transitions and seasons of life. And I think Elizabethtown is great for that reason. Like you, I saw it once when it came out. I'm always the first one to a new Cameron Crowe movie, like sign me up. And I have favorites. I love Singles. I love Almost Famous. Even though he didn't direct this one, he wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is also a favorite of mine. But like, I'm not a big lover of Jerry Maguire. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I don't love it. And when I first saw Elizabethtown, didn't really connect with it either. And I rewatched it when I saw this song on your list. The soundtrack's always been a favorite of mine. And again, we mentioned it in the intro, but for those of you that love vinyl and especially soundtracks, one of my favorites, I just reordered it as a gift for somebody because I love it so much, is the repress you did of the Say Anything soundtrack.
Oh my gosh.
Huge fan of that soundtrack. And Elizabethtown is way up there too. Even though I didn't love the movie, this is one of my favorite soundtracks of his. And I say I didn't love the movie in 2005 when I first saw it, but when I went back and revisited it, being, almost 20 years older now, and having gone through the terrible season of losing a parent, it just hit differently. And the movie was a real joy to watch in terms of, the way he comes home and the way this song appears. And it actually appears twice in the movie, right? It's at the beginning when he's in the funeral home and first sees his father. And then it's at the end, sort of when he's coming full circle and he's on a road trip. Yep. He, again, being Orlando Bloom, who plays the lead character, and Kirsten Dunst is his love interest. And so they really connect over music. And she is a super fan and makes this amazing gift for him at the end of the movie. She encourages him to take a road trip, and this is the best gift. My birthday's coming up in March. So anyone who wants to build me a road trip interactive map playlist, that would be the perfect gift. But she does that.
CDs.
Yes, I know. Who can even still has that capability, right? To burn a CD. But yeah, I loved that. I thought that this song really captures that whole full circle moment that the movie, I think, strives to present, right? Sort of, you start in this state of confusion, and then through community and shared connection, you kind of come out the other side a more insightful, stronger person with a whole lot of perspective, right? That's how it felt to me.
No, absolutely. The whole thing is that, like, um, like I said, it unlocked the film for me, and it's because, like, it didn't feel personal, and then until I realized how personal it was. And the movie is basically a love letter, a mixtape to, several very important emotional beats in his life. And when my friend Megan passed, we, our friend Laura asked us to put together a playlist to celebrate her life. And as we were, like, dropping links into Spotify of songs, the instinct was mournful at first, but then all of a sudden it was just like, no, these are, like, fun songs, things that we all remember spending time with them. And, like, again, the fact that I didn't know this song and don't really have that big of a relationship to the song, it's like I can see the tangibility, the tactility of immediately a brain in mourning going to a song about inheriting your father's weapon, like his title, his whatever,
Yep.
like, lyrically, it just sort of it's the same sort of, like you said, music lovers consumption of information that doesn't really click into place until you have a reason for it to go into a personal connection, right? Songs that, like, maybe just made you smile once make you cry, and things that, like, just gave you goosebumps once before suddenly bring you to tears. It's just this song is so powerful and so resonant, and it has such a strange place in my brain where I listen to it and it gives me goosebumps, and I don't have that immediate loss and grief associated to it, but I do associate it with the emotional revelation of the fact that, like, I don't know, that, like, there is so much power in music, like, that there's so much I don't know, there's such the brain is so interesting that way that it maps out places in your brains that you can't truly connect. I don't know why that is so that's like magic to me, and I think about that all the time.
Me too. And it's one of the things that I love about music, right? Like, you could hear a song and it hits one way at a certain place in time, and the exact same song can change your mind or change your life, change your attitude. I've had it happen to me so many times. And that's why I think music is so resonant to me, to Cameron Crowe, to you. It does something that no other medium can do, and it really locks in time and place, an emotional state, in a way that I don't think anything else can. And again, too, I love this song because of the movie and the soundtrack and what it represents. And then Elton John, you were saying you're not a super fan or not super familiar, and I'm kind of the same way. I know Elton John's big hits, but the one thing I will say about Elton John is, when I was a kid, and you used to listen to the radio, you could call in to radio stations and request songs. And the very first song I ever requested on a radio station was an Elton John song. It was, I guess that's why they call it the blues. And I remember sitting around, like, all of that DJ's shift waiting for them to play the song. And they did, I'm happy to report. But that's always been, I have a soft spot for Elton John, I think, because of that. Like, a silly memory, but something that was so impactful and cool for me as a young kid.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, tell me about your second song. This one I cannot wait to get into. Tell me about your second song.
This is going to be a radical swing, but my second song is by a Japanese artist, and I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but Hitsujibungaku, which roughly translates to a portmanteau of the phrase in Japanese, sheep literature. And the song is called When It Shines.
Yes, this song was incredible, and I have had this band on repeat. Please tell me about how you found this. Oh, okay. My gosh, I have. There's a song called Step There's a song called Fever. I love both of them now. Like this has been so like one of those gifts. Like I love it when people bring songs that I haven't heard before to the show. And this one was, I just immediately fell in love with it. Tell me how you found this band, how you discovered these guys.
It's the weirdest journey. So, I got really into Japanese city pop about like 5 years ago. Are you familiar with the genre at all?
A little.
Yeah, basically, for those who don't know what Japanese city pop is, it's, there was an era in the late 80s, early 90s, what people would consider the Japanese bubble era, which is like the economy just boomed, technology was booming, money was like, it was like the most financially successful period of time in modern Japanese history. It eventually deflated, and there was a significant recession that they're still recovering from to this day. But in that period of time and of excess, there was basically the Japanese version of American yacht rock, and like funk and soul kind of became very prominent in their music genre, and it's super funky and dancey and super Western, but through their lens, and it's like very interesting. But I got really into that because it's just sort of like this, it's a fun, really bouncy style of music. And when I was going to Japan regularly before the pandemic, I was always seeking out that kind of music and trying to find old original pressings of that stuff on vinyl. And so I took me to a lot of record stores, and one of them being, there's still like a Tower Records in Japan. An 8-story Tower Records in Shibuya that is just a labyrinth of amazing things. And, being there, I kind of I just found a bunch of artists and things and like listening booths that I was kind of just into. And I grabbed a couple of just CDs off the shelf that I kind of like, I gave like a 30-second listening to just by looking at what the artwork looked like. I was like, this kind of seems like something I'd be interested in. It wasn't this band though. It was another band that I really liked called Luby Sparks. And then from there, once the pandemic kicked in, I just found myself like letting Spotify's algorithm give me other suggestions and other suggestions and other suggestions. And so this is a bit of a long lead to, I found myself like humming along and liking like the songs, and I kept checking who it was. And it's 3 kanji characters, which are the Japanese characters that are like basically the most complex, the things that like Westerners will never learn. And, I looked it up, Hitsujibungaku, what it translated to, but I find myself like recurringly on playlists month after month getting offered new songs by this band and really liking them. And then eventually I was just sort of like, okay, I think I like this band, right? And so I just got to go back to Japan a few weeks ago for work, and I saw that they were playing a show. And when I tell you that I because you can't just like buy concert tickets from, in America, you can't just like put in your credit card and like go on their Ticketmaster or whatever. Like I had to like have someone buy them locally, and I had to like go meet them at a convenience store and then print out the tickets for me and hand out cash and all this fun stuff. And then I was halfway across the country in Osaka the day before the show, and I had to rush home, and my train was late and all these things. I was like, I'm not missing this band. And I got there and I saw them play, and they were so incredible. But the thing about them that sticks out to me, and obviously this was the first time listen for probably most of the people who are listening to this, is these women can write hooks for days, like the most like universal, these universal, global, do not need to know the language. If this song does anything for you, literally just listen to any of their songs, and their choruses are just like out of control. Like I can hum the melodies by heart for almost every, I don't know the lyrics, I don't know the words, but there are some songs that just truly give me goosebumps every single time. And it's not because of the lyrics, it's because of the melodies that are in there. And let me tell you, they deliver the goods live too as well. They are really, really incredibly talented.
Oh, I could not agree more. And I didn't even translate the lyrics. And anybody who's ever listened to this show even once, like knows that I am a lyrics gal through and through. Like it's one of the main reasons I love music. And I didn't even care. I loved the music so much. I thought that this band was just so talented. The drummer is just like drumming with intention. The whole, like any song you listen to, it's just so good. And then we'll spoiler alert a little bit here too. to, but Heidi's vocals, the lead singer, immediately made me think of the Sundays, immediately. So that was like beautiful to me as well, because I love the Sundays from back in the day. And so this was like it was like discovering a brand new catalog of Sundays music, but updated and cooler and younger and fresher. And so, yeah, I went fully down the rabbit hole. And I can't wait to see what memories I'll make around these songs, because I will be listening to this band forever now.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
No, thank you for actually like giving them a listen beyond the perfunctory first song. Like I have no idea how global music interacts with a lot of people. You know, like I've sort of been omnivorous lately, with regardless of language, and trying to find. I just like rock and roll. You know, that's the big thing, and that's why like you know, it's fun. It's a fun feedback loop, if anything, to hear what other culture, because like, you know, I'm in agreement that like rock is kind of dead here in a way, and I try, you know, there's a lot of young artists that like I listen to that I'm really into, you know, up and coming kids doing, you know, the stuff that I used to listen to here, but like I don't know what it is, like hearing a whole other country take like indie rock, shoegaze, emo, punk, and bring it back and like listen to what it sounds like through that lens is like so fascinating to me. And that's where like, I don't know, that's just where what fascinates me more these days than hearing what I don't know, an American 20-year-old is doing with it, because I can hear the influences for some reason, but I can't hear the influences over there, and I don't know what that is. And I think that's because there's like a whole extra element and ingredient missing that I can't put my finger on.
Well, and that's what I was saying, was I was talking about this band, Sheep Literature, to some friends. I'm like, you guys have to check this out. It's so, so good. And I was saying it's like Japanese jangle pop. Remember, like they called like the Sundays and a lot of those bands jangle pop. So I was like, it's Japanese jangle pop. So that was my my made up genre.
That was part one of Jenn's conversation with Mo Shafeek. Join us next week to hear the rest of the conversation, as well as Jenn's picks.